Play it on Xbox One.
Today's a good day to swing by because I literally just picked up a couple of the cars that were out other parts of the world doing events. This one is my V8 370Z. So this car is an exact replica of my championship winning car that we had in 2014 and 2016. Definitely a tried and true setup. It is event winning, championship winning, and very, very reliable at the time that we retired it and we moved on to our twin turbo V6 setup, which we are slowly perfecting. No engine program comes easy, as you can even see nowadays, but we went through 6 of these motors, maybe 7 actually, in the first year and a half that we were debuting it back in 2012. So, but now it's doing good, and we are now applying that to our twin turbo V6 setup. This is the car that I built to start to learn the twin turbo V6. It is also obviously a full 370Z. This one's wide body. It's my demo car. It just came back from Grid Life. It's got 19-inch wheels in the front, 20-inch in the back. It's a little flossier than the rest of them, but fully built out, rear mount radiator, and of course a twin turbo V6 setup. This one is on a factory engine. We were doing the first initial testing with this setup at about 600 horsepower. We made 700 horsepower with it, but turned it back down so that it would hold the power for testing. So yeah, this one, it looks a little tired. It came back from Grid Life Midwest. We took this car out because I typically send the 4-seater out for all of our ride-along events because obviously it fits 4 people. So I built this car once again myself with the help of a couple of the people doing the wiring and the cage work. But I mean, that's my thing. I just love building cars. I put a lot of time and energy and hours into these cars. And this one's, we brought out, pulled all the body panels off because we're going through, giving it a full detail, full cleanup, and getting it ready for its next event. It is one of the very first, maybe the first, I'm not quite sure, but one of the very first 4-seater purpose-built drift cars, at least in America, where I went through and just had the idea of, ride-alongs are great, so why not give 3 instead of 1? So we designed the cage to be able to fit 3 passengers in the car. It's great. This thing is a ton of fun. Has one of our retired competition motors from 2009, which eventually got rebuilt in 2014 to a 600 horsepower setup, which is once again, just like that car, just enough to be able to run around the track almost all day long with no issues, no heat issues or anything like that. I like to keep these cars a little more tame, and it makes my life a lot easier at the track. And then so there's this car, which I bought this car back in 2014. It is a 1975 Datsun 280Z, first generation Z. And the reason why I got this is because, with having the 370s, I always wanted to have a nice, cool street car, and going with a classic is actually very good for multiple reasons. But the main one is that you can do a lot more to the cars and still have it be street legal. So when you're getting into work under the hood, you can do more power, less restrictions on emissions and smog because this car wouldn't pass with its factory engine anyway. So we decided to go with a RB25 setup in this one, and I rebuilt this car entirely inside and out. The engine, the whole package, the exterior, the body kit, the wide body, and the suspension, the drivetrain, for SEMA 2016, where we actually entered this car in and we won the Super Street Award. One of my favorite cars, absolutely. It's something that, once again, built myself with the help of my buddy Danny and over at Rad Dan's shop. But yeah, I mean, building cars and driving them, that's what I like to do. So for me, drifting is the most fun you can have in a car. It's driving it to its limit and beyond, and it is what kind of got me into this whole car scene. Just getting into a car, going out to an empty lot, and just throwing it as hard as I could. And didn't even know what drifting was at the time. We were just trying to have some fun. And slowly and steadily, we learned how to control the cars a little bit better, and we started to set up actual corners. And then we eventually started, with the help of our friends in New Jersey, some of the very first organized drifting events in North America, and especially on the East Coast. And that's where we actually like honed in our skills, and that's just when I fell in love with it. And I knew drifting was the ticket for me.
Here we go, Forsberg through the chicane, down that long straight. Look at Denofa keeping it tight, initiating together. Forsberg now back on throttle, reaching out to that touch and go. And looks like Denofa got a little bit affected there.
Yeah, Denofa was sweating him early, had to back off. Forsberg gets out of the outer zone, but look at Chelsea right there in the shadow, that NOS Energy Drink 370Z.
Denofa surging towards the end here. Oh, and makes a mistake on that last inside split.
Right a bit earlier than Forsberg here, giving an opportunity to chase. Now Forsberg waiting the board, but he's on a much tighter line, but again, incomplete. Yeah, Forsberg maybe giving himself too much room here as Denofa brings around that final clip.
I grew up in Pennsylvania, eastern Pennsylvania, over by like a suburb of Philadelphia, and I had no real motorsports or like mechanical background. I just slowly started to learn about cars through my uncles, I would say. They were into drag racing. They enjoyed going to Maple Grove Speedway, and they took me and my brother a couple times. I remember like the first autograph I can remember getting ever was Joe Amato, the top fuel drag racer. The name just sticks in my head. I was maybe 8 years old or something. And that was my first, I guess, experience with motorsports or any sort of high-powered racing. So I first found out about drifting, it was about 98 maybe, yeah. And there was no YouTube, there wasn't really magazines covering it. Myself and Tony Angelo, a good friend of mine that also came into Formula Drift in the first year, and we were just kind of scouting the internet, trying to find pictures or videos of anything that was sliding around. And so we found, Japanese videos, in-car videos, photos of these, RX-7s and 240s, slammed to the ground with big chrome wheels, and just thought that was the coolest thing ever. It was just like the kind of style of cars that we enjoyed versus what was slowly becoming the sport compact era, the late 90s. And we just kind of like grabbed onto that. We're like, high power rear wheel drive cars, slammed to the ground, like this is the coolest thing. So we're building these cars and we're just having a lot of fun with them. We had a little too much fun, got in trouble, lost my license for 6 months, and it was like the first moving violation ticket I ever got was reckless driving, of course. And so in those 6 months, I decided to turn my car into a race car, because that's a good idea. And so stripped it down, put a roll cage in it, and once again, there were still no drift events, there was nothing going on to even know what I was building this car for, but it just seemed like the right thing to do. So a few months later, there was the D1 driver search put on by the guys that started Formula Drift. And me and Tony, who I learned how to drift with, were like we're going, this is it, this is our big break. We're gonna be the two, heroes from the East Coast going out there. We're gonna be, just killing it. We're gonna pick up all these sponsors and everything's gonna be sick. We show up, first round, knocked out, didn't qualify. And so, did not go well for us. However, loading up our cars onto a flatbed, just a box truck with the top knocked off. We loaded them up from a loading dock, strapped them down. They're basically just like slamming into each other all the way across the country. And we show up and we do that event. It was at Irwindale Speedway, so it was the first time being like on this big stadium style track. And there's all these other cars in line. You got Ken Gushi's there, and Reese Milne's there, and Sam Hubinet, and all these like big players, which we didn't even know half of them. I just now know that they were there. And we're just all lined up trying to do the same thing. And that was the turning point of me seeing drifting in America, like starting to hit that next level, organizers creating these big events and bringing the sponsors from the other realms of sport compact to drifting. And yes, we didn't qualify, but we just got a good smack in the head of like, if we don't pack our stuff and get out there, like we're gonna miss the wave, because there wasn't no social media, there wasn't any real big events going on the East Coast besides the ones that we were running. And so that was it. We're like, if we want to be like professional drifters, like we got to get out there. Everyone takes a different approach to drifting. That's what I really like about the sport. It's not spec series. There isn't a formula for it. Like, we are building the formula for it. So everyone's just kind of offshooting, trying their own things. And for me, it's, you know, I got into the sport because I loved it, and I love what the cars looked like and how they drive, and, you know, the effort that goes into the build themselves. And so for me, like, I always wanted to, like, yes, I know that our cars aren't just slam 240s with SRs in them, but I always wanted to stick true to some sense of like the purity of the car and the power plant, the drivetrain, and to, you know, some of our to really sum it up for some of our bad years, you know, that really bit us in the ass. You know, not just putting in a more proven platform. We've always been a little off key, doing the Nissan VK motor, super heavy, really big engine. You know, it's got 4 cams, just a lot of moving parts, only because I wanted to keep the car all Nissan. But for me, it's like, it's a means of, you know, connecting with, you know, the rest of the community, because, like, yes, it's a race car, but it's still a tool to connect with your fans. And, you know, for me, and trying to keep the car in its purity, you know, very Nissan, one of the only Nissans, or Nissan-powered vehicles, I should say, out on grid. It's, I mean, I feel that's really important to me. Where I see myself in the next few years is, I mean, it's hard to say because, I mean, technology has even changed that for us in the past 5 years. I didn't see myself as some sort of show host 5 years ago. You know, if I was to build a 5-year plan, you know, back in 2010, it would not be to host like 3 different shows in 2015. That was never even an option. But now, 2018, looking forward, I of course want to continue competing, as I was saying, just as long as we're able to go out there and hang and throw down and win rounds. And, you know, there's no reason to stop, at least in my mindset. I love the thrill of the competition, but also looking forward to fill in those gaps as I, you know, try and get my team to be a well-oiled machine, to be able to spend more time doing those shoots, doing those shows, working in a space like this with the race service guys, just building content, working on cars. You know, I got my first interest in cars by working on them and building things, and so I don't know. It seems like an easy answer. Most people want to, you know, start a business and make, you know, $100 million, but I don't know. For me, it's like it can be simpler than that. It doesn't. It's not just about making the most money and filling up, you know, 23 hours a day. Even though I feel like I'm working 23 hours a day with just out getting that $100 million that every person in the world chases after. But I mean, I don't know. I just really enjoy the hustle and the work, and just, you know, get my hands dirty whenever possible, and just creating things. And like I said, from building the cars to driving them and everything in between. And yeah, just something. That's how I was like trying to think of how to put in the words. Is like, if you're gonna do something, just do it all the way. And yeah, that feeds back a little bit into. I used to run a patch, maybe I should put it back on there, the LAMF patch, but yeah, it's just, if you're gonna do it, just fully commit. And even if you have a bad year, you gotta double down. And I mean, that's the only way to succeed in a cutthroat style business, if you will, with drifting or racing or anything. You just gotta be willing to put it all in.
Welcome back to the House of Drift, the O'Reilly Auto Parts title fight presented by Rain-X. We are about to see Pro 2 head-to-head battles ensue here at the final round, not only of the Pro Championship, but tonight, Pro 2. We will not only crown the winner of this iconic track, the House of Drift Irwindale Speedway, but also the Pro 2 champion. Things got a little wild yesterday in qualifying. We'll get to that in a little bit, but first, we have our opening ceremonies. So if you would, please stand and remove your hats, as presenting the colors is the Air Force Honor Guard color team from Joint Base Anacostia Bowling in Washington, D.C., and singing the national anthem from the 562nd Air Force Band, Senior Master Sergeant Aaron McPherson.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, again to the Joint Base Anacostia Bowling in Washington, D.C. color team, as well as Senior Master Sergeant Aaron McPherson. Now let's introduce you to our top 16 drivers. A couple vehicles there in practice got into a tussle. Let's introduce you to our Pro 2 drivers. Starting off with our #1 qualifier. First car parked, Garrett Denton. Garrett Denton, our #1 qualifier there in that Cora Works S14. Moving on down the line from Vallejo, California, it is Crick Filippi. All right, in that Ford Mustang from right here in Southern California, it is Trenton Beecham. Coming all the way from Norway in a vehicle they call Chucky, it is Ulla Jaeger. Up next, coming all the way from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, he's in that Neo Performance S14, the 1JZ powered vehicle. We like to call him Squirt. He is Troy Manners. All right. A couple Canadian drivers up in the mix, the Retina Burning Yellow and the PB Creations S14. It is Sebastian Gauthier. Always with a sharp-looking S chassis, this S15 vehicle. Say hello to Brody Goebel. All right, from the Pacific Northwest with that Achilles tire mass Motorsports S13, it is Brandon Schmidt. Coming from all the way from the other side of the country in that baby blue S14, it is Jeff Donati. Coming all the way from Minnesota in that Cora Works 350Z, it is Alec Robbins. From right here in Southern California. Oh, what are you doing there? What are you doing there? That's a photo of her car, the only female in competition, and hopefully she can get it all together. Coming from Orlando, Florida, it is Kelsey Rawlings. That's what her car looks like on a phone. If you squint really hard, you could see her Ford-powered S14. All right, looking cool, calm and collected from right here in Southern California. Let's see if he can box jump his own car. It is Adam Knapik. Next up, in that Dynasty G37, he's out for blood in that Fortune Auto vehicle. It is Jonathan Hurst. Another driver coming all the way from Canada in the NV Auto Toyota Racing, Toyota 86 on Achilles tires. It is Riley Sexsmith. Oh, and there she is. There's the car, and there's Kelsey Rongs. We already introduced you, but there she is. Two vehicles we are missing out here, and drivers Josh Robinson and Dylan Hughes. So Josh Robinson and Dylan Hughes, are they out there? Where are they at? Oh, and just pulling up. Look at that. He is going for the championship as he is second in points, and coming into this round, first in points. He did not qualify, but our driver here, again, going for the championship. If he makes it past top 16 and into the grade 8, he will be your 2018 Pro 2 champion. Advanced Auto Parts, NOS Energy Drink, S13. Say hello to the dozer, Dylan Hughes. A lot of thrashing there. I saw on Instagram, you could see kind of a little bit of frustration there. His team had to work hard to get it back out there on the track. Those are your top 16 drivers. Again, Josh Robinson in that Holden Commodore Ute. That vehicle got into it pretty bad, but you know, he's got these Australian parts. He's got this Australian car. So as far as the suspension goes, hopefully we can get it together and get it going. So let's get ready to send it here with these head-to-head battles. Again, our Pro 2 champion will be crowned tonight. Who's it going to be? We will find out. All right, so the drivers are making their way back to Hot Grid. Johnny FPV, our drone pilot, piloting the GoPro Hero 7s here. First person viewing. So Ryan, we have an action-packed Pro 2. Not only did the plot thicken yesterday, but even here in practice. But overall, let's talk about yesterday, because something really big happened. And basically, coming to this round of competition, we had Travis Reeder and Dylan Hughes. Those were the contenders. Yesterday in qualifying, Travis Reeder just doesn't have the car. He doesn't have it all together working out for him.
He had a 40-point lead coming into this event after Texas. 4 rounds of Pro 2. If he made it in, he gave himself a much higher probability of winning the championship earlier on. He did not qualify, and Dylan Hughes nearly did not qualify as well until his second run. Dylan Hughes was able to get into the top 16 competition, as we did see him out in the lineup there. But unfortunately, after 2 runs, Reeder was not able to do that. Hughes got it in, and he was going to be in competition today. But so many things have happened since Pro 1 qualifying earlier this afternoon and going into Pro 2 practice. In particular, Hughes went into the wall very hard and caused massive damage. You could see from his demeanor down there on the course how he was feeling about what happened during practice. In fact, so many guys were having a tough time in practice going to the walls. We had 15 more minutes of practice. They didn't finish those 15 minutes. Now, Hughes had a lot of damage to his vehicle, and what we heard from the hot pit was that he actually went to Reeder, or Reeder went to him. I don't know exactly how that transpired, and got parts off of Reeder's car so that he could compete in the top 16 tonight. So the guy that was looking to win the championship,
not qualifying, potentially going to get taken out by his best friend. These guys are great friends in the Pacific Northwest. He loans him the parts to potentially beat him at his own championship.
Unbelievable. I mean, you want to talk about spirit of drifting, that is a prime example right there of a driver that was so close to the championship, still could potentially win it, but Hughes has got the work ahead of him now. Needs to make it past the top 16 into the Great 8, but he's going to be doing it with parts from the car that might have been the champion. So maybe they can share the championship together if that happens.
I don't think that's going to happen, but the camaraderie is there, and this is you know, from you know, last year we had Kevin Lawrence, who was in 5th. I think he was like 70+ points out, and what happened and transpired, he went from 5th to being the champion. Here's the points, how they shake up, and this is basically
prior to qualifying.
This is prior to qualifying. Thank you for, I was looking at that because you could see Reeder, Hughes, Ula Yeager, no way can he obviously take it away from Dylan Hughes, that point differential there from the lead. But I have updated points here, which basically has, you know, the Irwindale qualifying. Travis Reeder didn't get any. Dylan Hughes barely got any. He got 2 points for just qualifying. And then attendance, that's 4 points. So Travis Reeder has 277, Dylan Hughes 239. If Dylan gets knocked out in top 16, he would only have 259. That would make Travis Reeder the champion. But if Dylan Hughes wins and advances on to the Great 8, he has to get past Crick Felipe, who's our number 2 qualifier, and he's definitely a fierce driver. Dylan Hughes would be your 2018 Pro 2 champion if he makes it past 16 and lands himself in the 8. How he does in the 8, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. He would win the championship because he would have 2 more points than that of Travis Reeder.
So the championship is decided in his top 16 battle is basically what it boils down to.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah, so just some exciting shakeups here in regards to Pro 2, and our first battle will be up here. Again, we still have yet to see Josh Robinson. The frustration, the plot thickens, the House of Drift, it always delivers. I mean, we've seen some crazy things here. You know, we've seen championships lost, gained by somebody else, lost again, and then the one that stands out to me is Dio Shihara losing it, Justin Pollock gaining it, D. Mack, you know, I mean, just all these crazy scenarios unfolded here.
It always seems to be a very dramatic event at any Formula Drift event that we go to, but in particular Irwindale, because people really have nothing to lose. It's the end of the season. They're pushing extremely hard. They know if they wreck the vehicle, they've got plenty of time to fix it. They may have plans for a new vehicle in the offseason, and that's why we see so many crazy dynamic things. But the championship for Pro 2 will be decided in the top 16, like you said, and that's going to come about pretty quick.
All right, so don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to be seeing the head-to-head matches of Pro 2. The sun's setting, the lights are on. This is the infamous House of Drift O'Reilly Auto Parts title fight presented by Rain-X. Round 4 of 4 of the Formula Drift, or the Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship, I should say. Again, the Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship when we come back. Head-to-head action.
All right, beautiful night here in Irwindale, California, getting Pro 2 competition underway with our first battle up, Garrett Denton and Trenton Beecham. Number 1 and number 16 qualifier respectively, as both drivers getting those tires warmed up. Our second battle of the night is going to be Troy Manners versus Ola Yeager, Sebastian Gauthier versus Adam Napik. We've got Brandon Schmidt versus Jeff Donati, Crick Filippi, and Dylan Hughes on the right-hand side of the bracket. That is going to be your championship battle. Kelsey Rowlings versus Alec Robbins, Brody Goebel, and Josh Robinson. And final battle in the top 16, Jonathan Hurst versus Riley Sexsmith. So as we explained before the break, a very interesting set of circumstances transpiring in Pro 2 practice, with Dylan Hughes wrecking hard into the wall, needing parts, and taking them from none other of his friend, and also number 1 in points right now, the current leader. And so crazy things happening here with Reeder and Hughes. But we will get this first battle underway between Garrett Denton and Trenton Beecham.
Garrett Denton, a number 1 qualifier. He put down an amazing run just yesterday. What was the score there? 94. I mean, it was near like a pro style run. And there you go. Smoke's ablazing. It's about to blaze. Out on track. Garrett Denton, Trenton Beecham. Denton initiates. You can see Denton light it up. Beecham trying to gain some ground here. Denton works his way up the bank. Beecham trying to track him down. Beecham back there quite a bit. Denton now transitions. Beecham, massive flick there. Now looks like he's gaining some ground with some better angle. Denton now in that front clip. Beecham wraps it around. All right, so Garrett Denton out front, Trenton Beecham in the chase position. We'll take another look.
Well, Garrett Denton kind of continuing that really solid lead run in his lead run here from qualifying, starting off nice and high on the bank, moving up. Beecham a little bit lower there, trying to gain some proximity here. Great job right there by Denton on that second hash mark on that inside clip. A little bit less angle there from Beecham, but trying to gain that proximity, so sacrificing a little bit to gain a little bit. And then through that last inside clip, Denton looking very solid out in front, with Beecham starting to close the door there. Now they'll mix things up. Trenton Beecham will go to the lead, and we will see Garrett Denton chasing him down. Here's that flick on initiation. You can see those front wheels locked up there by Garrett Denton. Left foot braking to get up near that wall and keeping the, you can see how much left foot braking exists in drifting these days. And many of the drivers able to maintain pace even with that. So taking a look here from the drone, Jared, you can see coming down where Beecham trying to attack on the inside there. This is where he pulled a little bit of angle out of the car to gain proximity. And now both drivers back to the line for run number 2.
Yeah, great perspective there. Good angle from the angles. As now Trenton Beecham will be out front. Garrett Denton will give chase. And we got a clean start here. The start chicane, don't hit the wall, and we are clear. Trenton Beecham looks like he's found a lot more horsepower there when he's got the fresh air out front. And Garrett Denton way down. So Garrett Denton really struggling here in that chase position. Trenton Beecham, look at Garrett Denton, wow. Seems to be falling apart now for Denton, who was our number 1 qualifier, but Trenton Beecham continues through the course. Takes out that final front clip, and man, what a role reversal here for Garrett Denton. A good qualifier when it comes to chase. You can't win unless you can do a good chase run.
In my mind, this is where the terminology in the rule book, who did the best overall, comes into play, because it looks like Beecham is going to get the better of the chases, but not the better of the leads. But the mistake from Denton was so severe, especially right here, straightening up, hitting that inside clip, and then straightening up on this second inside zone, that really it does tip the scales, in my mind, into Beecham. We'll see if the judges agree with that or not. But some mistakes by Denton after a phenomenal lead run, perhaps costing him in the victory here in the top 16.
So there's Beecham awaiting the outcome. And Garrett Denton missing that front bumper, the headlight. So slide him left for Beecham, slide him right for Garrett Denton. Andy says Trenton Beecham, Ryan, and Trenton Beecham gets the win, taking out our number 1 qualifier. So look at that. Beecham went from qualifying 16th to taking out our #1 qualifier, Garrett Denton. So Trenton Beecham, who we've seen light up the streets of Long Beach at the Motegi Racing Super Drift Challenge. He's been campaigning here in Pro 2, and now here he is. I know I can hear a lot of Trenton Beecham fans in the stands. They're cheering him on. So Troy Manners, our #8 qualifier, coming all the way from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, going against Ula Yeager, who qualified 9th. This should be a fairly equally matched battle here, according to qualifying. But as we saw, quite a disparity there of Denton and Beecham. So Manners in that Neo Motorsports S14.5, Ula Yeager in the Japan Auto Toyota Supra on Nexen tires. All right, so it sounds like we are clear to send. All right. Hold on real quick. Sounds like might be some debris out on track. Just want to make sure we have clear track. All right, so again, we found some debris out there on track. Want to make sure we have clear venue and clear to send. Squirt, aka Troy Manners, will lead, and Ula Yeager from Norway driving a vehicle that we've seen numerous years ago. Frederick Osbo putting up a post 10 years ago driving that very vehicle. Now here he is going for another championship. Troy Manners initiates. Mid to high on the bank. Ula Yeager looks like he's working his way to the side of Manners. Now Manners tight on that front clip. You can see transition. Ula Yeager, a straight line approach. Manners getting all of that outside zone. And now brings it into the front as Ula Yeager punts it out of the way. All right, so let's look at this again here. It looked like it was an all Manners show.
Well, he got a good jump here. You can see right at that Comedic sign, he initiates that last standing cone. He's a mid-high line on the bank and moving his way up. Yeager is closing the door, but he started at a much lower position. Now Manners, nice transition here, getting close to that inside clip. You can see Yeager's off that inside clip and kind of has a straight line when he transitions for a second there. Then he gets back in angle, but he's not able to close the door here against Manners, who fills that second outside zone. And then Yeager right there coming up a little bit tight on that final inside clip. Now from the drone, you can really see the straightening there as he was trying to transition into that second outside zone. Much more noticeable from that camera angle. And then coming through over here, you can see nice and tight on that inside clip. And then Yeager was just a little bit off there as he came too tight on that inside clip to finish up the run.
All right, Ula Yeager now out front. And here's the second half of this battle. Whoever advances on will go against Trenton Beecham in the grade 8. And Ula Yeager has the clean air. We'll see if he is more confident as Ula Yeager, similar to Manners' line, he took that mid and then went high. And here's Manners, transition into the outside zone. And Yeager rounding it out. That one more front clip, Manners swings it wide. All right, so both these drivers a lot more consistent on this second run.
Let's take a look here, Jared. As you can see, Ula Yeager, decent jump, initiates midline on the banks, does start to move up. Manners does the same thing. Very similar to that first run where he kind of closed the door, had a midline and moved up there. But you can see that Manners is at least a bit more controlled in the chase position. He doesn't have the proximity, but he didn't make the mistake on that transition into that outside zone, nor does he hit that inside clip. So the question will be for the judges is, was that enough to move it in the direction of Manners here? And on board, you can see Ola Jaeger in the chase position. This is the run that the judges wanted to look at here, in how much offline there hitting that inside clip was Ola Jaeger. But now it is all in their hands to make the call.
Slide him left for Ola Jaeger and right for Troy Manners. Troy Manners unanimously gets the win, taking out Ola Jaeger. And for Jaeger, he was 104 points outside of third place, or excuse me, in third place. And 106 was it total? So that might shake things up a little bit here. So Sebastian Gauthier, he would be next in line, 166 points out. So he's 60 points behind Jaeger. So it might shake things up as far as the top three.
1, 2, 4, 5, 6 are 1 point.
Yeah, 4, 5, and 6 are all 1 point away from each other as far as the standings coming in. So now with Jaeger getting knocked out, I mean, keep in mind that they're about 60 points behind Jaeger, so they would definitely need to have a substantial finish here this evening. But right now, it's all about Sebastian Gauthier and Adam Knapik. Gauthier looking a lot more feverish than he did yesterday, but just as I say, that drops down a little bit. Now past that front clip, Knapik pretty far off that inside clip. Gauthier wavering into that inside bank. Good angle from Gauthier. They like to call him Bass Gauthier. Oh, and Knapik gets lost in the smoke. A lot of smoke, and then those you throw those HID headlights in there, it's definitely blinding, Ryan.
And the smoke is not only a blinder for the drivers, it's also a blinder for us, but you could see that Knapik did have a big mistake right before the finish line here. Let's take a look at Gauthier coming off the bank. Big angle through that first inside clip. You see Knapik, similar thing to Jaeger on that transition, kind of straightened for a little bit. Gauthier is doing a pretty good job staying in that second outside zone. Now watch Knapik here in the chase run, right in the smoke line, and then the car basically straightens out. Pretty extreme. And then he kind of has to reinitiate. So I have a feeling that that is going to be play a major role.
There's going to be a good angle here. Watch this.
In the overall judging, and especially to see if he did straighten out to the point of an incomplete, which it did look like that from that particular angle. And you can see Gauthier was filling that outside zone extremely well.
Yeah, I would have liked to seen if he was behind Knapik. We definitely would have saw if he did straighten out. All right, says run the wall on the back of Bass Gauthier's vehicle. Knapik. And away they go. Knapik out front. Gauthier in the chase. Knapik initiates. Oh, looks like he has some. Yeah, that seemed like he straightened up quite a bit there. Seemed as Knapik now goes past the inside clip. Gauthier! Whoa, buddy! Knapik gets the outside zone, but now it looks like Gauthier, he's now having issues. Clutch kicking his way through that outside zone, Ryan.
Well, that was extremely wild on all fronts. We have Knapik looking like he didn't get a good start, losing some speed on the bank, definitely decelerating in an area where he shouldn't have. We saw Gauthier closing the door. Let's go back from the beginning here and take a look at this one more time. You can see right there, he doesn't really initiate. That might even be an incomplete, meaning the run would be over at that point. We'll verify from the judges, but that was a pretty sizable mistake. And then down here, if this is going to be judged, let's just take a look at it as if it were. You can see Gauthier comes up, he's kind of tight, has to pull some angle out of it, but my guess is, Jared, it's really going to come down to that initiation from Knapik.
Yeah, it was kind of over before it began, and we have the judges over here, and we're going to take a look at the first run again. But why don't you walk us through it here, Lantagne?
Yeah, what we're looking at here is the finish, basically, but we're all getting it from the one camera that's mounted on the forklift that's over by the start-finish line. So we want to see how bad Knapik straightened at the finish line. It was really hard to tell through the smoke line earlier how bad it was, but hopefully from this vantage point we'll be able to see just how bad it was. And actually, you can see he straightened pretty significantly.
Yeah, very apparent from that angle.
Yeah, and on the second run, the one that we just watched, Knapik in the lead position straightened, did not initiate, basically drove drove for a significant portion of outside zone 1. So essentially the run was over at that point in time. So all the errors that were made by the chase driver, Gauthier, at that point would be really not a problem at all.
All right, so it seems that the needle's going to be going the way of Sebastien Gauthier, and that seems to be the case. Sebastien Gauthier automatically or unanimously gets the win, but not automatically. He has to fight Adam Kanapik for it, and Kanapik's weekend is done. So Sebastien Gauthier advances on. Next up, Brandon Schmidt and Jeff Donati. Brandon Schmidt will lead. Both these guys on Achilles tires. As Brandon Schmidt qualified 5th yesterday, Jeff Donati qualifying 12th. Brandon Schmidt, a strong qualifying run for him, and clean air for him as he will lead. Jeff Donati, don't know if he's got the power yesterday. The observations yesterday were that just wasn't able to get all the way up there. I'm talking about the bank and maintaining that angle and the speed. You can see Schmidt really overpowering him here in this arm wrestling match, and Brandon Schmidt doesn't get all the way to the outside zone, but definitely a lot deeper than that of Donati.
Well, as you pointed out, Jared, definitely a big differential there in the car power or the ability to lay down grip. You can see out in front with Schmidt. Gets a pretty good jump there. He is wavering, but Donati's so far away and on a much lower line is not really helping his cause. He almost went off course there coming down off the bank. Schmidt, meanwhile, this is a pretty decent run. Kind of something that you would see in one of his qualifying runs where middle of the road, not really doing anything super extreme, making a couple mistakes, but we just didn't really see the proximity there from Donati, and he was on a much lower line. Now as we come down off from that inside clip heading into the bank, you can see the difference in line here from both drivers. Donati is on a much lower line for the beginning and the majority of the run, whereas we see Schmidt at least trying to get out to that outside wall and be close and feeling that zone.
Okay, let's alternate the order here. Donati out front. And ready to send this second run here. Jeff Donati from Columbus, Ohio. Brandon Schmidt coming us from Lake Stevens, Washington. And look at this now. Jeff Donati seems to be overpowering Brandon Schmidt. Maybe, oh boy, Jeff Donati. Oh, that's going to be a wrap for Donati, unfortunately for him. And Brandon Schmidt doesn't have to finish out the rest of the course because the lead car made the mistake. But Brandon Schmidt's going to continue anyways. But that's going to be an advancement for Brandon Schmidt, just seeing the first run. All right, here it is again, Ryan.
Yeah, you can see as he initiates, doesn't get a good start, goes down way low on the line, and then he's off course there at that point, and Schmidt has no choice but to go around, and that is going to be perfectly legal, and as you pointed out, just a tough break there for Donati.
Yeah, Donati just not having the car this weekend here against his competitors. A talented driver, but just not enough vehicle for him to advance on. And Brandon Schmidt. So Brandon Schmidt unofficially getting that victory, and we'll wait as Bas Gauthier there we are, the bat's eye view. Johnny FPV on Instagram. You can see our next competitors lining up, but right now the outcome of Donati and Schmidt. Slide them left for Donati, right for Brandon Schmidt, and there it is. Brandon Schmidt gets the win. Brandon Schmidt advancing on into the Great 8. We're halfway through the top 16. And this is for all the marbles. This is for the 2018 Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. Again, to remind you, Travis Reeder coming into this round, he had a 40-point lead over Dylan Hughes, who's right there. Travis Reeder failed to qualify. Now, Dylan Hughes holds the fate of the championship in his hands. He goes against Vallejo, California's own Crick Filippi, who qualified second. Dylan Hughes, he barely qualified himself. He qualified 15th. Dylan Hughes goes hard on the wall. Crick did as well. He had an accident early on as Crick now initiates. Starts out high, maintains the height as Dylan Hughes chases him down. Some parts from Travis Reeder's car, who's going for this championship, are actually on Dylan Hughes' car. Again, this is for the Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. Travis Reeder watches on from the stands. Ryan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nothing really decisive here.
Well, Felipe gets a pretty good jump out here. Mid-high line on the bank. Hughes is a bit lower, trying to close the door here. So better job on the bank there from Filippi. And now on this inside bank, a pretty good job as well. Big angle there. Dylan slowly closing the door, but he's on a little bit of a tighter line with a little bit less angle. So you've seen the lead run from Crick and the chase run from Dylan, and now they're going to switch things up to give you that comparison. Here they are leaving that inside clip. You can see Dylan a little bit less angle there, a little bit tighter line, and Crick a bit deeper. So looking at lead to lead, chase to chase, and who did best overall is the judge's job. And we'll see what happens. This will decide the championship, as you said. It either is going to Dylan Hughes or Travis Reeder after this battle.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, this really decides the 2018 Pro 2 Championship. Crick Filippi wants to play spoiler. He wants to continue on. He'd love to win the event. He doesn't care who he's going against. But right now, Dylan Hughes now has the clean air. You got two very similar builds. You got the S chassis, you got the naturally aspirated LS of Dylan Hughes, and then you have the turbocharged LS of Crick Filippi. Dylan Hughes now past that inside clip. Crick Filippi now gaining some ground. Dylan Hughes tries to get to the outside zone. Crick looks like he gained some ground. And now approaching that final front clip and inside clip. There goes Dylan Hughes and Crick Filippi.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
This is it right here. I mean, the run is over. Nothing more can happen. Everything is in the judge's hands as Dylan Hughes tries to battle back mid-line there. Crick, a little bit of wavering. He was on a little bit lower line. There's some separation here. Is this enough to go to Dylan Hughes or to Crick surge here towards the end? Looks like he had a little bit better proximity, but he was also on a lower line for certain sections of the course. Dylan, great job filling that last outside zone. Only 3 options here, and one of them is a repeat battle. The other 2 will decide the championship. Getting that shot from on the drone. You can see Crick is a little bit tighter line. He wavered a little bit. Dylan a little bit better there. So a back and forth battle. And it all comes down to this for the 2018 Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship.
There's Crick Filippi waiting patiently. Dylan Hughes, I have to say, waiting not so calmly. All right, so here they are side by side.
I'll let you guys decide at home. Looking at both runs side by side. See Dylan lower line on his chase run. Dylan tight on that inside clip in his lead. Crick closing the door pretty quickly on Dylan. A little bit tighter line there. Very close, Jared.
Yeah. You can see that front clip there. Dylan Hughes getting all the way out there. Crick doing that as well. Yeah, this is it's really just not like somebody crashed out, somebody broke, did this or did that. It's pretty straightforward. So 3 options, like you said, Ryan. Slide him right for Crick Filippi. So Crick gets the win, taking out Dylan Hughes. So that would essentially mean that Travis Reeder holds on and maintains the 2018 Pro 2 Championship unofficially. Again, we are looking at the schematics, and Dylan Hughes held that fate. Crick Filippi wins. So Travis Reeder, without qualifying, looks like he will hold on to the Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. Lightning strikes on the track and in the air. So, wow, Ryan.
Crazy, yeah. The judge is taking a look at that. Let's go to Ryan Lantane and just get an evaluation here on his overall impression. It was unanimous, and see how they interpreted those two runs.
Yeah, Crick just did a better job in the lead and the chase overall. Like you were saying earlier, it really comes down to who does a better job. And outside zone 1, Dylan Hughes was quite a bit lower in the lead position than Crick was when he was in the lead. And Crick just did a better job of mimicking what Dylan was doing in his lead. So in the chase position, his proximity was about the same as what Dylan was doing, but he did a better job of following the line and mimicking the transitions and the angle.
So with Dylan Hughes getting knocked out in the top 16, he ends the season with 259 points. Travis Reeder ends the season as 277 as he ended yesterday. So Travis Reeder is your Link Engine Management Pro 2 champion. But who wins tonight? That is still TBD, to be decided. Next up, Kelsey Rawlings, who, as you saw in the driver intro, didn't have her car pulled up. And now she's ready to go in that Ford-powered Achilles Tire Kotec Top 1 Oil S14, going against Alec Robbins, Fortune Auto, Cora Works, Koenig Wheels, 350Z. Florida versus Minnesota. Here we go. Kelsey Rawlings initiates, drops down quite a bit. Alec Robbins taking a way higher line, showing he has the car. But how is he in the chase? We've seen some great things from Robbins. And Kelsey Rawlins with a big straighten and correction there. Alec Robbins straightens out, but with Kelsey Rawlings with that mistake out front, that will be her fault, and Alec Robbins will have the advantage, Ryan.
Well, you could see that starting to materialize pretty early on. She was wavering quite a bit from initiation on the bank, and it looks like obviously she sustained some damage during practice. Let's take a look at this again. You'll see what I thought maybe might happen is she was going to spin at inside clip 1, but look at the front wheels. You can see she's constantly making adjustments here. The car is really not settled and situated properly. Transitions back around. Big angle there, which she hangs on to, but as she transitions into this second outside zone, she's not able to stay in drift, and it will be an incomplete in the lead run for Kelsey Rawlings.
Yeah, I know that her and her spotter, Pat Gooden, who's a former FD driver, they basically just needed WiseFab. They were looking for WiseFab, which is a suspension company. They run WiseFab, and they're just couldn't. They obviously located it, but just thrashing and getting it done, maybe just those, those fine little nuances just weren't corrected. So, like you said, just kind of throwing it back in on the bank and then into that inner bank. All right, here's the second half of this battle. Alec Robbins and Kelsey Rawlings. All right, Robbins. Pieces out. Making headway here on the bank. Kelsey Rawlings, that back left fender looks like it's doing a dance as Robbins, again, a former MDU champion. We've seen him on the podium here this year. In Pro 2, as Robbins brings it around, it looks like Robbins does quick work, puts it all together, and no mistakes. And with Kelsey having that mistake on that first run, Robbins looks to have the victory.
Well, Robbins just needed to hold it together here, not receive an incomplete. He's on that midline on the bank, wavers a little bit there, gets kind of scary, but stays out front, manages to get through that inside clip, relatively unfazed. Kelsey in the chase position, trying to make a go at it here, but unfortunately Robbins is just a bit too strong out front, and with that incomplete, Robbins will be moving on into the grade 8.
All right, so we are waiting for the verdict, but you have to assume you know what's going to happen here. Robbins and Rawlings, and there you have it. Alec Robbins gets the win unanimously. Kelsey Rawlings is knocked out. So Robbins, that Cora Works Fortune Auto 350Z, advances on. Smoke dissipating as we advance on to our next battle. Brody Goebel and Josh Robinson. Josh Robinson pulls up to the line. He was a no-show at the driver intro because he was working on a Robo-Roo. And you could see that Holden Commodore Ute. And there goes Dylan Hughes pulling off course. And Brody Goebel Brody Goebel will lead. Goebel qualified 3rd. And Brody Goebel from Vancouver, BC. Josh Robinson coming all the way from Perth, Australia. Straya, mate. And we got a clean start here. No cones hit. Josh Robinson hunting him down as Goebel midline works his way up top past that inside clip, approaching that second outside zone. Goebel gets out there. Josh Robinson comes up a bit short in that big Holden Commodore U. And Robinson looks like even corrects and straightens out in the chase position as he crosses the finish line.
Man, Goebel is extremely fast. Right out of the gate, gets a good jump. Robinson, though, not letting him get away. Robinson trying to keep him in tow here. Goebel starts mid, goes pretty high, but not all the way to the wall. Blasts through that first inside clip. Now here comes Robinson, charging him down, taking that lower line to try to gain proximity. Now moving up, but Goebel feeling that outside zone, and then nice and tight on that inside clip and right through the finish line.
And there is the drone's eye view. That's that second outside bank. You can see that Robo-Roo taking a licking. Keeps on ticking. Robinson will now lead on Nexen tires. Brody Goebel on Achilles tires. Those are the two dedicated Pro 2 tire suppliers for Pro 2. And here we go. Robinson and Goebel. Second half of this battle. Who's moving on? Robinson now really getting the jump. And Goebel works his way up that bank to the side of Robinson. A lot of these guys have never seen competition against each other, so how they drive when they're out front or in that chase position they might have never seen. So Goebel, Robinson, and bring it across the finish line. Ryan, you're kind of nervous there. You're making some sounds over there.
Using every bit of that outside zone towards the finish there was Goebel. Robinson, nice initiation there on throttle. See that smoke line building. Goebel does not want to let him get away. He moves up the bank to try to stay with them. Robinson pretty good on that inside clip, but Goebel was off of it. Now Goebel trying to close the door. Big smoke line here from Robinson. Great job on this outside zone. Very clean line through there. Goebel is falling off on his line, and right there, he narrowly goes into the wall, just exceeds the line a little bit. Here it is from the drone. Let's take a look at it here. Down below, you can see Robinson, massive smoke line that Goebel's driving through. Goebel gets lost a little bit here. He shoots wide. And then right here through the finish line, you can see Goebel just pulling a little bit of angle out of the car there towards the end as he was trying to avoid that wall.
All right. Matt Sopa, our official there on the start line. You can see just how big that Holden Commodore Ute is front to back compared to the S15 of Brody Goebel. Goebel seemed to have a lot of power. But in that chase position, Robinson looked very strong. Excuse me, in the lead position, Robinson looked really strong. And the scores are in. And the hammer drops for Robinson or Goebel. Brian says one more time. Andy says Brody Goebel, and Ryan says one more time. So they are going at it again. A one more time battle between these two gentlemen, Goebel and Robinson. Ryan, do you agree with that call? Again, it was 2-1, so it's definitely somebody sided with Goebel.
Well, let's hear from Ryan and have him give his interpretation on one more time, and maybe why one judge would have gone to Goebel.
I can't really speak for Andy. I haven't really talked to him about it, but in my eyes, it was like you had said, one won the lead and one kind of won the chase. There was nobody that was dominant overall. There were some mistakes made in both positions, and I'd like to see somebody go out there and really be dominant. Josh did a great job in the lead of getting high on outside zone 1, and I think Goebel did a good job in the chase position, but I'd like to see them really throw down a good run in both positions, one of the drivers, so we can see a clear winner.
Thank you, Ryan Lontaine, as now all right, so here is the G37 of Jonathan Hurst and Riley Sexsmith in that NV Auto Toyota Racing Toyota 86. Jonathan Hurst high on the bank. Sexsmith needs to work his way up there, and he does it, but maybe just a little too late as Hurst takes out that inside clip. And Hurst about in the middle of the bank on the inside outer zone. About the second hash mark for Hurst. Not the strongest run from Hurst out front, but Sexsmith seems that he's got a little struggle bus behind him.
Well, Hurst did start off pretty well here. You know, he initiated on a high line and he stayed on that high line consistently. Sexsmith was playing catch up here. Hurst coming down off the bank. A little bit too tight on that inside clip. You can see something flying off of his car there. But Sexsmith is way far back, and even though Hurst is on a tighter line overall, Sexsmith is not really a major factor in the chase position. So now they'll switch things up. Riley Sexsmith will go to the lead. And we'll see Jonathan Hurst in the chase position. As we take a look at the vehicle from Hurst, I believe he did have some things come loose from that inside clip.
All right, so now Sexsmith will lead. He qualified 11th. Jonathan Hurst qualifying 6th. Hurst looked really good at previous rounds of Pro 2 this year at St. Louis and then actually at Texas. All right, looks like again with Hurst taking out that front clip, that inside clip at the traditional start finish. Ryan, so as far as the championship goes, pretty crazy turn of events there for Reeder, you know, just biting all his fingernails off, watching from the stands, his friend and also his competitor going for that Pro 2 championship.
Yeah, no, definitely one of those things where you would want to have a camera on him after leaving here last night and just thinking what it must have been like to sleep on that and wonder how things are going to transpire today, go through practice and have Dylan approach and have them swap parts, and then how it all played out is just crazy. I mean, a great ending to the Pro 2 championship year. I think this field, the 2018 class, has been one of the best in recent history, and certainly a lot of guys to keep an eye out for in the future.
Yeah, the builds, the driving caliber. You know, Irwindale is a tough litmus test because a lot of these drivers, this is the first time they're driving it, you know, comparing them to pro. There's a lot of history, you know, if it's previous Pro 2 drivers, if it's rookies that are driving it, if it's a, you know, Dirk Stratton or Matt Van Kirk, or if it's a Von Gittin Jr., Dio Shihara, Chris Forsberg. These guys, you know, they've driven it before, some many years and some their first year. So again, with Pro 2, these guys, my hat is off to these guys and gal, Kelsey Rawlings included. So a lot of debris out there on track. So we got a lot of glass out here on track. So our fire and safety crew picking up the glass. Don't know exactly what broke, but that would definitely be a bummer. Win a free MagnaFlow exhaust. Text MF Drift to 555-888. Again, text MF Drift to 555-888. Still continuing to clean up the track, so why not also, if you're posting some photos, tag a photo of you watching this weekend's event, hashtag FDDRIFZ, hashtag FDDRIFZ, and enter to win a free set of Drift's wheels as run by Edemus Odi Bakshis in his Falcon tires, Max Oil Field suspension, S chassis, and it looks like fire and safety is done. And we can continue on with competition. So second half of this battle, Sexsmith and Hurst. We'll revisit the one more time of Goebel and Robinson. All right, Sexsmith. There you go, the lights extinguished. Send it, fellas. Sexsmith gets the jump there on Hurst. Sexsmith initiates. Look at Hurst gaining some ground with angle. Sexsmith a little higher there. Is that gonna end up biting Hurst in the end? Look at Hurst going for the gusto. Sexsmith gets into the wall, stays in, and Hurst straightens out. Ryan, the question is here, who is at fault? You can see Hurst having some issues. Hopefully our drone's eye view got a different perspective as well.
Well, that's going to be one to definitely watch here. Sexsmith, a little bit of movement in the front wheels. Hurst on a lower line. Sexsmith looking good here. Hurst kind of straightening out. Now, coming through this inside section, this is where we see contact right there, and then Sexsmith goes into the wall after that. So, looks like the cause was Hurst hitting Sexsmith, and the effect was Sexsmith going into the wall. Right there, you can see really close approach, and it'll really all come down to the judges to give us clarity on how they feel about that. But at least in terms of the order of events, that is how it transpired.
Looking at the way that Jonathan Hurst was coming in there, that is a slowdown area for the lead car, and Jonathan Hurst came in. Look, you could tell he was coming in pretty hot and had nowhere to go. He ended up tapping the quarter panel of Riley Sexsmith, and then that sent Riley into the wall. Riley was able to continue drifting, so the damage to his car wasn't severe enough that it caused him to straighten up or lose any kind of mechanical ability to continue the run. But it looks like Hurst had some damage or just straightened up to the point where he stopped drifting. So I believe the majority of us here, the three of us, are putting the fault on Jonathan Hurst for that, which would kind of put him at fault for Riley's hit on the wall as well.
All right, so it looks like Riley Sexsmith gets the victory. Jonathan Hurst pushing too hard, causing Sexsmith to go in the wall. And Sexsmith all right, so Riley Sexsmith advances on to the grade 8, and we still have the one more time battle between Brody Goebel and Josh. All right, so again, we still have the one more time battle between Goebel and Robinson. Ryan, let's take a look back as we await those two drivers. They still got to warm up their tires, but in the grade 8 already advancing, Trenton Beecham taking out Garrett Denton, and then Troy Manners taking out Ula Yeager, who is challenged a little bit for that final third spot overall. Brody Goebel, as well as Jim Lau was just showing me kind of the numbers there, but Sebastian Gauthier and Brody Goebel, they basically need to win the event in order to take away that final third spot away from Ula Yeager.
Yeah, and it looks, I mean, where it seems like the movement is most likely to happen is 4th, 5th, and 6th, because there's only 1 point separation between those guys. So pretty much the finishing position is going to determine where they finish in the championship. But some great battles, like you said, Gauthier and Schmidt, and then the other side, Philippi and Robbins. And then finally, after this one more time battle between Goebel and Robinson, that driver will fill in with Riley Sexsmith.
See Brody Goebel warming up his tires. And there is Goebel pulling up to the start line. So Beecham versus Manners, Gauthier versus Schmidt, Filippi versus Alec Robbins, and then finally Sexsmith versus the winner of this battle. All right, Robinson now pulls to the start line. Brody Goebel, Josh Robinson, the one more time battle. Who's moving on? Oh, looks like Goebel had a little bit of a roll there. That is a restart for Brody Goebel. All right, so Brody Goebel does have a strike there. All right, so that is a strike one against Brody Goebel. And Josh Robinson will chase him down. Again, the chase car can leave the line early, but of course the lead car cannot. And now it looks like we got a clean start. Brody Goebel will lead Josh Robinson giving chase. Here comes Goebel into the initiation point of no return. Goebel does a good job. About mid-line on the bank. Past the inside clip goes Goebel and Robinson. Robinson a bit far off. Goebel getting all the way to the outside zone. Probably the best execution we've seen so far in these head-to-head battles for Goebel. Ryan?
Yeah, Goebel gets a great jump here. Robinson not sleeping at the wheel, but did not get the greatest jump relative to the one more time battle. Let's Goebel get out front. Goebel did not get all the way up on the top of the bank, but he was on a mid-high line, which is a pretty good start for him here. Now as he comes into the second bank, again, Robinson on this lower line here. Did a great job in order to gain proximity, but you know, you give some to take a little bit away, and Goebel reaches out to that outside zone, just getting over that last little yellow line a little bit. Here it is from the drone. You can see Robinson again on that tight line. Goebel a bit deeper here. Both drivers managing through this last inside clip, and then Robinson just a slight adjustment there towards the end. So Robinson's going to mix it up now. He'll go to the lead. Goebel to the chase position.
Let's see if we have a clear-cut winner. The judges vying that, saying they want somebody to really be a standout on that first battle. So indecisive they were, and going one more time. It was 2-1. Andy actually sided with one of the drivers, and here we go. So Robinson, again, just with that clean air with the drivers, they just seem to be a little more dominant. And Brody Goebel now brings it into the outside zone. Robinson tapping the wall, gets a little out of shape, but stays in it. And around that final clip, Ryan, do you think we have a winner here?
Close battle here. I mean, it's amazing how much development and progression this Pro 2 field has had. If even you think back to the Pro field many years ago with the Hachis and Taco Ayano and Alex Pfeiffer, it is a different game now. And Josh Robinson coming back strong here in this second run, trying to get deep into this zone, and he does that, but Goebel closes the door. So I think really looking at lead to lead and chase to chase, did Robinson have enough overall? Did Goebel keep him in tune, keep him close enough in order to get this win here? A great back and forth battle here, our final battle to close up our great 8. And let's see how the judges award or not this run.
You send a shout out to Alex Pfeiffer. Oh, doctor. Slide him left for Robinson, slide him right for Brody Goebel, and Robinson. Ryan says Robinson. Oh, look at that. Andy says one more time, and finally Brian says one more time. So another one more time. So one more time times 2. Ryan, do you agree with that?
Close.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Ryan L.
Yeah, Ryan L.
I went with Josh because I felt that his lead was really strong, and in the chase position he wasn't given an opportunity to chase very much. I say that because it looked like Brody was not really fulfilling the lead driver responsibilities. He was running with very low angle through the area from outside zone 1 to outside zone 2. Very slow transition with not a lot of angle. So I didn't feel like he gave Josh a good chance to follow very well through there, despite Josh getting a little bit closer near the end of the course. But the other judges felt that it was, you know, worthy of a one more time, and I could see that too. Josh did do a great job in the chase. It could be debated whether or not that was due to Brody's, you know, perceived trying to get away in the lead position. So that's why they decided to go that way.
All right, so we're going to take a short break here as the second one more time has been dictated. Again, we'll take a short break. Don't go anywhere. Pro 2, the Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship will continue here at the House of Drift. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Title 5 presented by Rain-X, and this is Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. All right. Really? Wow. Last Starfighter. Remember that one? Lantagne, Last Starfighter? That was a good one. Remember that movie, Ryan? Who's going to be the last Starfighter tonight?
I don't know. We've got 2 uno más tiempos going on here, though.
All right, so Goebel and Robinson, a hard-fought battle.
Lightning. Lightning strikes. Your bird, it dies. I don't know. What song is that?
I don't know what you're singing.
The angel opens her
All of a sudden, it's FD karaoke.
Lightning crashes. Lightning crashes.
Oh, Garth Brooks, here we go. Brody Goebel, Josh Robinson going for the gusto. Goebel, a lot higher. Robinson now seems that he found the sweet spot. Goebel, big transition there. Robinson past the inside clip. Look at Goebel. All the way to the outside zone. Goes Brody Goebel. He punches the black mat. Oh, and Robinson way shallow on that line.
Yeah, I think the strategy for Goebel here is really, he's got such a quick car. He doesn't need to cut the line or run a shallower line. He can run those right up against the bank, stay deep into the zone, and he's going to be good there. Robinson is fighting to stay with him here. And as Goebel comes into that inside clip, Robbins on this tighter line again. Goebel this time much better in this second outside zone. He stays in the zone longer and deeper, but then also Robinson starts to match it. But right here, coming through that inside clip, Robinson does not push out to that final outside zone and comes up a bit short.
Were you claiming Garth Brooks? Lightning strikes.
No,
and the thunder rolls.
No. This is like a like a high school song for me. Like like 1998, 1999.
As opposed to me.
Well, you mean for you too, I guess. But you might have graduated already.
Yeah, I graduated in '96.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, same vicinity. I thought you were going to sing Money Talks. Money Talks. Little Neil Diamond, right? Josh Robinson will lead. Brody Goebel will give chase.
You haven't promoted any yacht rock this year, I noticed. Usually we do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down for Michael McDonald and Lionel Richie and H&O, dude. Hall & Oates forever.
That's what we got to work in.
Yeah.
Come on, DJ, whip that up.
Yeah. Play some H&O. Hall & Oates for life. Yacht rock is a lifestyle, you know. You just got to live it, you know.
I always get excited when you do your Michael McDonald impression.
This is my Michael McDonald impression. Give it away. That's not a knife. This is a knife. Got Crocodile Drift Dundee down there. Put another shrimp on the barbie.
Now you went dark.
Yeah, right. So an Aussie and a Canadian walk into a bar, Robo-Roo, or is it going to be the Canadian Crusher, Brody Goebel? Robinson initiates. Goebel low on the bank, but look at that, slides on up into the DMs. Robinson transitions. Slip slide, take it to the house. Robinson, look at that, he gets to the outside zone. Goebel right there on the door of Robinson, making a stink.
All right, here we go on the replay. Let's watch Goebel in the chase position. Watch the front wheels here. It has a little bit of a flub right there. But Josh Robinson, mid-high line on the bank. Good job by Josh. Getting that zone. Coming off the bank into this inside clip. Pretty good job there on that second hash mark. Now coming into the outside, or the inside bank rather. Big angle by Robinson. Stays deep into that zone. Goebel on a much tighter line here. And Robinson really fills that zone this time. Second hash mark and pushes out wide. So really the mistake from from Robinson in the chase position on that last inside clip was pretty sizable, but he comes back with an incredible lead. And it looks like Goebel had a hard time matching him in certain areas and got that late jump and had a little bit of a flub in those front two wheels after initiation. So again, another tough run to call here for the judges, and no quick scores coming in, so some evaluation happening.
A little bit of tailgating there from Josh Robinson, and you can't really say that with any of the other vehicles, as the Holden Commodore Ute, the draw of a Ute. As, again, tailgating there from Robinson. Goebel on that lower line, and look, another side-by-side assessment here from our judges.
Let's take a look at the leads on both sides. Somewhat similar here. Robinson down a little bit lower on his in the chase, but Goebel closer. Now looking at this section, Robinson a little bit tighter line in the chase. Better job in the lead.
Could this go another one more time, man?
But that mistake
that's a major mistake.
That mistake
by
in the chase right there, I think, is a big factor in this. How much, though, is really where these judges, it's what they get paid to do.
I thought Robinson had a little bit better lead run. Goebel had the mistake. Just it was very apparent in the chase position. All right, so verdict is in. Slide him left for Robinson, right for Brody Goebel. And Ryan says Brody Goebel. Andy and Brian. Brian says Brody Goebel. And it's unanimous. Brody Goebel gets the win. Lantaine, go and throw your headset on there. You know, they had 2 one more times, and now we finally have a victor.
Yeah, it came down to what Josh Robinson did at the finish line, where he went 2 to 3 wheels off. Very similar otherwise throughout the entire run. It was that's why we got to get the side-by-side to really see the errors that were made by which driver. We didn't want to go one more time again, and seeing that error at the end there by Josh Robinson is really what kind of pushed us over the edge, I think. But very, very similar runs. Again, need to get higher on outside zone 1, and they need to, in the chase position, have more proximity to the lead driver. So those are things that all the drivers are going to have to work on throughout the top 8 that's coming up right now.
So the grade 8 is now set. We will not take a break. We took a break there awaiting that one more time, or the second one more time of Goebel and Robinson. So now we're going to advance on our first battle of the grade 8. Trenton Beecham. We took out Garrett Denton, our #1 qualifier, going against Troy Manners. And I've seen some great driving from Manners over the years, as well as Beecham on the streets of Long Beach. But right now, Manners, who qualified 8th, he will lead over Beecham, who qualified 16th. Troy Manners initiates Beecham. See some wavering, but he keeps good proximity, doesn't mimic the exact angle. And now past that inside clip, Troy Manners kind of takes a straight line approach. Beecham doesn't have the angle past the inside clip, but look at that power, just getting and lunging to the side of that Neo Motorsports S14. Pretty solid run there from our first battle of the grade 8.
Yeah, Beecham, his chase game had some realms there for a second. Let's take a look at it, turning it up. Manners in the lead position. Let's see where he initiates, right at that Comedic sign. Beecham right there, a little bit lower. He loses some angle for a second. Then he gets back on it. Manners has done a great job in his lead runs overall through that first inside clip on that second hash mark. Manners is a little bit lower there, but then you can see Beecham closing the door, keeping the pressure on. This is one of the best chase runs that we've seen in this section of the course. And a great way to finish it as Manners takes the lead with Beecham chasing him down, coming into the inside bank. This is where Beecham attacks. Right there, sticking it to Manners. Manners, good line as Beecham really keeps the pressure on. So here we go, second half of the battle. Now Beecham takes the lead against Troy Manners. Light goes off, and Beecham is out of the gate through the chicane.
Beecham out front. Manners in that chase position. Look at Manners jump forward. Beecham, great angle. Manners not initiating until way late, and he is down on the bank. Beecham running away with it. Could he be the dark horse of the event? Beecham on that outside zone, tightens it up to the front clip. Ryan, where did this Trenton Beecham come from, man?
Well, let's take a look at Manners. I think we may have had a very sizable mistake on initiation. Let's take a look at the initiation here.
Stop.
Right there, look at see, he's actually past the initiation point with the wheels turned in the opposite direction there. It was almost like an opposite drift, but for a very short period of time. Beecham out front also had a straightening there on the transition to outside zone 2. But I think because, well, this is interesting actually. If Manners incompleted in the chase, Beecham would need to finish. But if Beecham straightened up too much to where it was an incomplete, then it would go back to the first run. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but just looking at things very, very quickly here and trying to process it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they quickly got this verdict here, and I have to, oh, look at that. Andy says Troy Manners, and 2-1, Trenton Beecham All right, so 2-1. Trenton Beecham gets the victory. So Trenton Beecham advances on. And there is Brandon Schmidt coming into view, warming up his tires. So Trenton Beecham finds himself in the Final Four. Again, he got that number 16 qualifying spot. He needs to make it to the finals to guarantee a podium. And he's going to be going against one of these drivers. So ideally, his spotter and him are watching this battle here of Gauthier and Schmidt, taking notes. Bas Gauthier. Heinz-Getter Velvet. Does he call you on the phone?
Does he know you?
Does he know you? Does he know your name? Is he like, okay, okay, okay. Sebastian Gauthier from Quebec City and Brandon Schmidt from Lake Stevens, Washington. All right. Oh, looks like a little restart there. Gauthier jumped the light. Back the truck up. And that's a strike against Bas Gauthier. Matt Sopa hitting the switches on the lights, and we got a clean start. Could sense a little pause there. Brandon Schmidt got a late start there. We'll see if he can gain some ground. And Gauthier initiates good angle. Look at him working that wheel. You saw him kind of bounce it back, right? And now I would think that Schmidt would strike, but now he does. Oh, and Schmidt goes to the inside. So Schmidt with a major mistake there. Oh, wow. So Schmidt with some major issues. Ryan, that is not where Schmidt wanted to be.
Yeah, that was all four off course there. Down on the inside bank. Gauthier out front. He makes a little bit of adjustment there. Does keep angle in the cars, but does make that mistake. It almost looks like there's rain falling a little bit there. But we are seeing lightning right here on the inside. He goes 2 off, he straightens out, reinitiates, but then he's 4 off right here. So tough break there for Schmidt.
Ryan, you tripping, dude? Why you tripping, man?
I'm not. I'm not. that was rain.
Was it rain?
Yeah. It's definitely sprinkling down. And I thought I saw something coming down, and we've seen lightning really probably, I don't know, 10, 20 miles away. It's been striking, but we are getting, and you can see it now. Look at this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, the track's so big, it's wet in some spots. Oh, and Schmidt backs it in. Hits the wall, and there goes Sebastian Gauthier.
And you can now you can.
Oh, now there's the rain. Yeah, that is thick. So rain comes in through Brandon Schmidt. No way. And that is a restart for these drivers. So Ryan, that will actually be restarted, even though Brandon Schmidt hit the wall and he spun out. That will be a restart, and now we have a wet track.
Well, this is going to get fun because it's a restart and there's some damage potentially to Schmidt's vehicle. So what's going to happen with that?
The problem is it was Brandon Schmidt that caused the restart. So he kind of did it to himself. So it's almost like, he caused the accident, so he's only going to get a certain amount of allotted time. He made the mistake and he didn't restart and stop.
He'll have to use his competition timeout, assuming he has one. There's
it's the last cone.
Yeah, and unfortunately it was that last one.
And there's the light. See the light going off? Mm-hmm. So he might have panicked as well. He saw the light like, whoa! All right, so we will clear up the track here, get Brandon Schmidt off the course, and look at that. A lot of rain coming down here. We'll get Brandon Schmidt off the course, and we'll continue with the action. So again, we will continue, take a short break. When we come back, O'Reilly Auto Parts title fight presented by Rain-X, and these guys are going to need a lot of Rain-X here. The Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship when we come back. All right, welcome back here to the House of Drift. And man, I didn't see, rain on the forecast till later this evening, but rain has hit us. And then with that also came some lightning. And the lightning basically we had to evacuate the grandstands here. And Ryan, what's the protocol at this point?
Yeah, it's Irwindale Speedway's protocol. If there's lightning strike within 5 miles, we have to get everybody out of the grandstand. So what the track is going to have us do, and what our operations team is going to do, is basically clear the track. We are going to take a 10-minute break to let the lightning clear. As you can still see, it's coming down there if you saw that. But we're going to reassess at 8:05. So it's 8:02 now local time. We'll reassess, but no longer than a 10-minute break to figure out what the next steps are going to be as we move forward here. And this is, I was saying during the break, what's the probability of this? This is the second time, one in Texas, right?
Yeah.
And they were both in Pro 2, and we're in Southern California.
Yeah, yeah, and it's St. Louis. We saw some hellacious rain, and just this year, it's just been a wet season, and just kind of uncharacteristically. So again, we'll take an assessment, and we will be back here in just about what time? It's local time 8:03, and we'll be back what time?
We are gonna make an internal assessment at 8:05 is what I've been told, and then by 8:10 we'll have an answer of what we're gonna be doing and when we're gonna be moving forward.
All right. So again, short message from our sponsors. We'll be back in a couple minutes, and we will let you know how it unfolds here at the Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship, and we are only one battle deep into the Great 8.
I was in high school. I was riding a motorcycle in a mountain road, and then I just saw drifting kind of accidentally, and just thought, oh, I have to do this. It's really cool, So that was the beginning, like almost 25 years ago. And then soon after, I got the car and started drifting on the street. And somehow I got to, be in the States and competing professionally nowadays. So back then, there's no internet or anything. But street racing, I shouldn't call street racing, but like driving on a mountain road. Was kind of popular for like car people, and you kind of get to see a lot of actions anywhere you go in the mountains. And again, I was riding a motorcycle, the same thing. Motorcycle people ride in the canyons as well. And I think drifting was main thing at the time. A lot of people did grip, but a lot more people did drifting back then. It was like right at the time the Initial D came out as a comic. So, it's basically before Initial D got really popular. So, my first car was A86. It was only cost like $200, really $200, but it was ready to drift. LSD, shocks, everything. So in a way, it was a good time, good timing. It wasn't too expensive to start with. I was working at a gas station after school, and then the money was enough to cover my driving. Gas was cheaper, all that stuff. So back in 2003, I came here and competing D1. That was my first professional driving career started, and that was 2003. And then Jim and Ryan, founder of Formula Drift, hit us up, I think end of 2003, and they told us like they're gonna start the series called Formula Drift next year. And basically they asked if we wanted to compete, and we said of course we want to. So that's how we started. Ever since I competed in the FD, my lifetime goal almost was win the championship. That was the main focus. Basically, every day, 24/7. So basically that was like a dream came true kind of thing, you know, all of 8 years. Eight years, dream came true.
Transitions through, but he cannot shake Dai Yoshihara. And as we finalize this run, both guys are doing an excellent job in the lead. Throwing a little shimmy right there by Ryan Turk, but 90.9 miles per hour. Fast inside with both guys, wheel to wheel, they approach that final push point there. But now circling back around, shooting out towards that outer zone. Dai Yoshihara, nice job on that rear clipping zone. Chris Forsberg hitting it as well.
So I'm from Japan. I basically started drifting in the street of Japan back in like 1997. Yeah, just on my own. Started with the like donuts and then just go through the canyon road, stuff like that. And you know, I always look up to U.S. culture. You know, I really wanted to come to the States and do something. Ever since I watched Top Gun in the 80s, so it's like drifting and U.S. thing. U.S. culture is like two separate things in my mind. But back in 2003, I just had a chance to come to the States and do drifting. And at the time, you know, I never thought that driving or drifting will be in my career. You know, that was just a hobby. You know, I just did it just because I wanted to do it. And didn't expect that I'll be living in the States and making career out of it.
And last round today, I didn't do well. Actually, I got knocked out, top 16. So I thought I lost the championship, but it fell back into my hand again. So I was lucky, but at the same time, I got championship anyway. So.
Well, it's been 8 years in the making. You couldn't have written a better story for Dai Yoshihara, and that is a wrap on our 2011 Formula Drift Championship. We'll see you next year.
Back in 2002, I think drifting is already popular in Japan, but drifting wasn't really came to the States yet. But I got to meet the guy who named Ken Miyoshi, who used to did a lot of import car show in the States side. But I met him in Japan side, and then he told me he wanted to do some drifting event in the States. But anyways, we became good friends, and then like 6 months later, actually, it wasn't Ken. D1 had a professional drifting event for their first time in the States. And through Ken's connection, I got to meet Jerry Tsai, who owned the car at the time. And he basically offered me to drive for him. And that's how I started competing professionally. So at the time, my family thought, that was like, could be one-time deal, or it could be maybe a few-year deal. It just for that moment. Basically, I think they thought I was just, having fun for that time, before I get really serious job or something. Yeah, after I competed in 2003, I just thought this could be something for like, could be a little long term, and that I was like 20, early 20s, nothing to lose. So I just quit my job and I started doing some eBay business, basically buying some parts from Japan and sell on the eBay. And because you don't have to work for someone, you can do whenever you have time. So that's what I did, maybe like next 5 years, and then just keep competing. So when Formula Drift started in 2004, I actually didn't know what to expect. But I know that was like a first professional drifting series in the States. So it wasn't like, the things like nowadays, but it's still like kind of the big thing at the time. Jim and Ryan did a really good job. But again, I didn't know how long that's gonna last. But I was just enjoying driving at the time. At the same time, I was trying to keep it going. So try to get sponsors and try to get support as much as I can. And I was making living out of eBay business at the time. I don't think many people really like make living out of it. In 2004, that was like first time professional drifting started. So there was not such thing in the past. So I think a few people were, doing as a job, but mostly just for the passion
you know, and then everybody was hoping that's gonna go somewhere in the near future. So, you know, last 15 years I've been professional driver, and you know, like these days this is like my main thing in my life, which is I think really lucky. You know, a lot of people think I'm super lucky to, you know, to be able to say a professional driver. And then I think I enjoy really last 15 years. I got helped by a lot of people, and you know, can't really thank enough to all of those guys. But you know, now I got family and I have a couple kids, and you know, sometimes it's not really easy to plan. I mean, you know, everybody's the same way, I guess. But I would say, as a job, you know, professional driving career is not really stable. Because you know, its contract is usually year by year, so I don't really know what I'm doing next year. I mean, you know, hopefully I'll be competing in FD, but that's like how it's been like last 5 years. But you know, like I can say that now because I've been doing this for a long time, and I was really lucky to keep doing this like 15 years. But sometimes I'm really worried about the future. Especially I have a kids, you know, I have to feed them, right? It might be a little exaggerated, but I gotta say, that's my life. You know, last 15 years, Formula Drift was my life in a way. Everything was around FD in my life. So basically, without FD, everything in my life has been totally different. So, I don't know. I can't really think of any other cool way to describe, but yeah, it was my life.
Welcome back. We are live here. It said rain delay, but it's actually lightning delay. We will drift in the rain unless it's torrential, but the lightning is the big danger. We don't want anybody getting electrocuted. We have metal grandstands, so if the lightning strikes, you don't want to be where you're sitting on metal there, Ryan.
Yeah, and you can see the drivers leaving the start line there. We are going to give them sighting laps to evaluate the course conditions here. Obviously, it changes things up. Usually never have to drift in these conditions in Southern California, and a freak storm coming through. And like you said, with the lightning, every track has a different protocol. Some people have a 5-mile radius, some have a 10, some have a 15. And for safety reasons, they do want us to follow that protocol, so we had to take that break to allow the lightning to pass. Looks like the rain is basically subsided now. We even saw some smoke on the...
It's more like steam right there.
There's some steam or some smoke on the warm-up, but it is slick out there now, and this is going to definitely
I'm seeing more rain come down.
Change the dynamic, and yeah, now you can see it a little bit more.
So just an FYI, this is just to give you an idea of where we are at. This is the first run. This is when it was dry. So this is Sebastian Gauthier in lead position, and then Brandon Schmidt in the chase position. And basically, this is the second half of this battle. If you were with us earlier when Brandon Schmidt led, Brandon Schmidt went into the wall, but that was actually a restart. Brandon Schmidt hit the last standing cone, and he went to the wall, but that is basically null and void. That is a restart light that went off. He didn't stop, or it basically slid out because it barely started to rain. And there you see, he hit the cone, the flashing light goes off, and it's slick. So Brandon Schmidt goes into the wall, so that does not count. That is basically null and void. So right there he hits the cone. Watch, you'll see on the fence right there, it flashes. Brandon Schmidt hits the brakes, and with it being slick, caused him to go on the wall. So that doesn't matter. That's kind of irrelevant. So right now, less than ideal conditions for our Pro 2 drivers. And now Brandon Schmidt will be out front in very slick conditions. You got to think all the rubber that's been laid down, and now the rain comes and it just barely dusts. It's not like it kind of rinsed everything away. It just glazed the track. So Brandon Schmidt who's from Lake Stevens, Washington, Evergreen Raceway. So a very popular track, and a lot of those PNW drivers know how to drive in the wet. Sebastian Gauthier from Quebec City knows how to drive in the snow, but here goes Brandon Schmidt initiating into the bank. Not too shabby there from Schmidt. Holds on to that angle. A little slow-mo drifting here. Looks like Schmidt sliding up and really difficult, and looks like Schmidt's going to transition back. I mean, it is really crawling here. Gauthier really struggling in that chase position. And you can see going in the outer zone, there goes Brandon Schmidt. Like I said, less than ideal conditions. See Sebastian Gauthier firing off. Ryan.
It's almost comical what we just saw right there.
I mean, you said it.
I mean, it is so slow, and so I've never seen it that slow before, in whether it's a matter of track conditions or setup. You know, these guys are just basically at a crawl here, and you've got to have a little bit of sympathy for the judges about what do they do in this situation. I mean, that would have been an incomplete right there by Gauthier, but Schmidt is going so slow that I'm not even sure Gauthier had really much of an option there. So we'll see how this all plays out, but remember, we have the first run to take into account as well, and it's getting crazy out here.
Man, like you said, comical, just unfortunate. And, you know, these Pro 2 drivers are so talented. I mean, even if the pro drivers were out here, this is not ideal for drifting. And you know, we can continue to run in the wet. You can see, looks like Schmidt outside of his car. Sebastian Gauthier. I mean, that's very difficult to judge there, Ryan. And they slide him right for Sebastian Gauthier. So Gauthier, and if you can recall that first battle or that first run between them, I'm going to throw it over to Ryan Lontaine. And Ryan, you really had to digest a perfect dry run, or not a perfect for one of the drivers, but then just, I mean, it's very difficult to judge the wet, huh, Ryan?
Yeah, it's really difficult for the drivers in these conditions. The amount of rubber that's down on the track right now with water on top of it, it's incredibly slippery, like ice essentially. So what we saw in that wet run was 2 incompletes essentially from both drivers, and we kind of reverted back to run 1, in which run the chase driver in that run was Schmidt, and Schmidt actually straightened up and kind of went 4 wheels off course there just before inside clip 2. So Gauthier did a decent job in the lead position during that run, and we're going to revert back to that run and give Sebastian Gauthier the win based on that.
Well, Crick Felipe here from Vallejo, California. That's Alec Robbins. He's from Minnesota. Like I said, another driver knows how to drive in the snow. But with this hot rod of a vehicle and on the very slick conditions, we will see how they do. So that's Robbins. These are their sighting laps, basically giving them an opportunity to see how the track is with their setups. Because, I mean, truth be told, I know last night the pro drivers were saying how grippy the track was, and this is the exact opposite. So their vehicle set up from, you know, yesterday into tonight, and now you got to make some mods, you got to figure it out, and you got to do it on the fly, because this is head-to-head. You could be one and done. So we are halfway through the Grade 8. Trenton Beecham will be going against Sebastian Gauthier in the Final Four. Gauthier, who qualified 4th. Crick Felipe will be going against Alec Robbins on the other side of the bracket. And then finally, Brody Goebel versus Riley Sexsmith. Crick Felipe, who qualified 2nd, will lead. And Alec Robbins, here we go, qualified 10th. Crick with a big feint entry, throws it into the bank. And Crick keeps it high on the bank, now dropping down a bit, Alec Robbins. And now Crick past the inside clip, into that outside zone. Robbins looks like he is sliding to the side of Felipe. And into the second inside clip and approaching that finish line. Oh, and Robin spins out before the finish line, and Crick will have the advantage here. Ryan?
Well, let's go back to that big feint initiation here from Crick. Gets into it here. Robbins has a tough time getting to angle and is way behind Crick here, but obviously these conditions have to be managed extremely cautiously. Crick doing a good job out front, big angle coming down off the bank, hitting that first inside clip. Now Robbins tightening it up, does a good job closing the door, but look at Crick taking that risk, getting out to that outside wall. Robbins trying to follow him, but as they leave that second outside zone and creep towards the finish line, Robbins is just going to come through that little section where it kind of comes down at a not the most smoothest surface to the inside when it goes from the bank to the inside. It looks like a little bit of compression there that causes him to spin, and looks like he will receive an incomplete on that run.
Glad that Alex saved his car. That could have been a lot worse. Would have been insult to injury, finishing, you know, or spinning out right before the finish line. All right, so we are sending the cars here. Alec Robbins will lead, and Filippi will give chase. All right, Alec heading out, looking very comfortable. Oh, taps that back bumper on the wall, stays in it, and just stays it. And it looks like Crick will continue on, and this could be Crick Filippi, and he does actually with Alec Robbins making that mistake out front. Crick does not need to continue through the course. It looks like he will
get a little extra practice here.
Yeah, it is a good opportunity for him. Whoa, buddy.
Yeah, once we've talked about this before, but once the lead driver has a clear incomplete, either a crash, a spin, or something of that nature, where it does cause a safety issue for the chase driver, the lap would be over at that point, and you can see Robbins out front hits the wall, understeer there, and Crick just narrowly gets by, but at that point the run would be over with, and Crick Filippi would be getting the win and moving on.
And with that mistake on the first run, or first battle as well, and slide him right for Crick Filippi. Crick Filippi advances on, and he gets the win. So Crick gets the win and is in the Final Four. Here's Brody Goebel. Brody Goebel from Vancouver, British Columbia, another wet part of the country. And Riley Sexsmith, another Canadian. So an all-Canadian battle here. Goebel versus Sexsmith. Good opportunity to warm up those tires there. Alex Pfeiffer, that's not why we say send it. But it's okay. OG Alex Pfeiffer watching. How we doing, homeboy? All right. Here we go with this last battle of the Grade 8. Brody Goebel. Oh, sorry, this is a sight lap. This is a sight lap, so they'll have their way with the course. Goebel, Sexsmith. All right, the drivers making their way back to the start line. The pace of the event slowing down considerably with the lightning, then the rain, and then literally the vehicle slowing down considerably due to the wet conditions. If you're tuning in, we are live. We already have 3 drivers in the Final Four. This is to be the final battle of the Great 8. We have decided, or not decided, they've decided, the drivers, due to the outcome of the event, that Travis Reeder is your 2018 Link Engine Management Pro 2 champion. Remember, if you're here in the building, you can join us down on track. We have the podium right next to that final outside wall. And Brody Goebel, really aggressive. Will this pay off? No, it looks like he is going to spin. So you know what that means, Pfeiffer, and more rain comes down. As Sexsmith, and like I said, Goebel, oh man, more rain and more slip and slide. All right, so Goebel spinning out on the bank. Sexsmith will now lead. Ryan, what's going through your head right now, bud?
Kind of bummed, honestly.
Yeah.
Kind of want to see high energy Pro 2 finals, going crazy.
Yeah.
Find out who's going to win. And yeah, we're hearing a 5 for Brody Goebel. So yeah, I would say that there's a level of bummery.
Bummery,
Yeah.
That's a new one. You're usually a great wordsmith, and you just came up with bummery. I do declare that bummery is not in the dictionary.
Yeah, we have now engaged in bummery.
We are fully activated in bummery. Population Bummertown. All right, so little bit of bummery on my side, a little bit of hominy on my side. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Brody Goebel's called the competition timeout. Hopefully be good and ready to send it here for Sexsmith and Goebel. Again, we'll take a short break. When we come back, more Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. Brody Goebel is back, and Sexsmith. Brody Goebel called that competition timeout. Sexsmith, you can see the windshield wipers going. Again, this rain just hits and quits, man. Just enough to dampen our spirits. But here we go. Sexsmith out front. The Regal Ginger Beard out front. That 2JZ powered NV Auto Toyota 86. Brody Goebel looks like he shook his hood off. Oh, and Goebel looks like he spins out. Sexsmith continuing the course. If he continues the course, looks like he might get the victory here. It looked like big straightening there. Sexsmith coming in hot. Oh, buddy, getting all the way to that outside wall. Yeah, Sexsmith. Sexsmith, you can see him left foot braking all the way through that bank. Oh, buddy, nice job. It was just like a slow-mo run. Riley Sexsmith with the huge angle, then brings it out to the outside.
Let's watch this here. Sexsmith initiates Goebel coming up. Sexsmith slows down, and then right there, Goebel spins out behind him. So there's definitely going to be an interpretation there. But Sexsmith does need to finish this run either way if they give an incomplete to Goebel. And he does have what looked to be like a very minor opposite drift there, at least an understeer on that transition. Finishes up the run pretty well after that, but it is still nice and sloppy out there, and drivers having a tough time trying to get that vehicle set up appropriate for this track. Now remember, they've been basically competing in hot, dry conditions since Thursday, so this is brand new for everybody and pretty unexpected, to be honest.
All right, so our two vehicles there awaiting the verdict, Goebel and Sexsmith. All right, we can see Sopa there. So slide him left for Sexsmith, right for Goebel. Andy says one more time. Ryan says Sexsmith, and Brian says... Riley Sexsmith. Riley Sexsmith gets the victory. He will advance on. Sexsmith, who qualified 11th, our highest. Oh, wait, sorry, and it was unanimous. That one more time was incorrect. So Riley Sexsmith does get the victory. Our final four is set. Trenton Beecham and his Ford Mustang will go against Canadian driver Sebastian Gauthier, and then Crick Felipe, representing Vallejo, California, qualified second, the highest finishing qualifying driver. He is guaranteed a podium at minimum third place. And then Riley Sexsmith is going against Crick in the final four. When we come back, we will continue with a very wet, slow, steamy Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. All right, welcome back. Our Pro 2 Championship continues. Trenton Beecham there. Nexen Tire, Roush Performance, Ford Mustang. Sebastian Gauthier. He's in that bright yellow S14. All right, so again, practice tomorrow. Gates open tomorrow at high noon. Practice begins from 12 to 1:45. Live stream begins at 1:45 local time tomorrow. Top 32 at 2 o'clock. And I say that because I was looking at the weather, and it's saying it should about 30% chance of rain at 1 p.m., but 50%. It goes down from 60, 50, 30. So you know, that's going off the iPhone. So all right, so Sebastian Gauthier will lead our first battle of the Final Four. Beecham and Gauthier. Gauthier will lead. He qualified 4th as opposed to Beecham 16th. And here goes Gauthier. And Beecham initiates. You can see Gauthier, he's already seen the wet. Trenton Beecham has not. And don't know how much experience Beecham has, but look at the rain come down, Ryan. Again, it's kind of in and out, unfortunately. And Gauthier just firing off. Oh, and Gauthier taps the wall, stays in it. Approaching that final clip, Beecham wraps it around. Looks like Beecham finally figured it out there towards the second half of the track. Gaining some applause here from the fans, and the rain keeps coming down, so vision, you know, it's got to play tricks on you.
Well, mostly what you notice from the beginning is Beecham just basically fighting the car. Look at the front wheels. He keeps moving them back and forth. He's just wanting to keep angle in the vehicle. Gauthier, on the other hand, pretty good job out front, staying at least relatively fluid here. And as he transitions to this first inside clip, you can see that Beecham's still fighting the car in the chase position. A little bit lacking of the angle here. Gauthier is going to come up and tap the wall here for a second. Keeps angle in the car. So Beecham was having a tough time kind of fighting the car a little bit, perhaps just because he hasn't had as much time in these conditions as some of the other drivers when this rain started. But Gauthier out front looked pretty good there. They'll switch things up now. Beecham goes to the lead, and Gauthier will chase him down.
All right, so Beecham will now lead. Gauthier will give chase. All right, Beecham, Gauthier. It's the second half of this battle. Who's going to the finals? Let's see. Beecham now out front, might be a little more comfortable since he's not chasing him down. And Gauthier, like I said, he just took on Brandon Schmidt. On the bank, looks like Beecham looks a little more dialed out front, but Gauthier does a good job in that chase position, in that second outer zone. Gauthier, a big correction there, and Beecham now taps that wall. Transitioning and exiting that outside zone goes Beecham. Gauthier punches the Black Magic Intense clip, and both of them straighten out after that finish line.
Well, you're right, Jared. Beecham looked much more settled in the lead position. He initiated pretty high on the bank, kind of stayed there, wasn't really flubbing the front wheels or moving around that much at all. Gauthier had to start from low and kind of tried to go high, but didn't stay up on the line that Beecham had. But, you know, when you compare the lead to lead and chase to chase, you have to look at the run overall. Beecham right there straightens out for a second, reinitiates. Also, Gauthier as well. Gauthier still maintaining that lower line. Beecham much better up top, staying in that zone for a pretty good period of time. So both drivers having some pretty decent lead runs. You have to wonder if it's going to come down to the chase.
Wet and sloppy out there. Gauthier and Beecham. Slide him left for Beecham, right for Gauthier. Andy, Ryan, and Brian. Sebastian Gauthier unanimously get the win, unfortunately for Beecham. And that is a wrap for Trenton Beecham, and it looked like he was going to be the dark horse. I know Beecham has a lot of friends and family here, but it was a great run for Trenton Beecham, and unfortunately the weather dampened the spirits here for Beecham. So Sebastian Gauthier So look at that. You can just see it continues coming down. Crick Felipe, Riley Sexsmith, they are the second half of this Final Four. All right, so we are seeing what's going on. We are hearing murmurs of Crick Felipe having some potential issues with his vehicle. He did qualify second, so even if he doesn't advance, he is guaranteed that final podium spot if Sexsmith has a bye run here. All right, so we are hearing that Crick Felipe is calling a competition timeout. That is a 5-minute allotment where he's got hands on the car. You can see Riley Sexsmith waiting there. He's gonna just get some more moisture in his car in his 2JZ powered NV Auto Achilles tire Toyota 86. All right, so again, unfortunately, this time not due to, or fortunately not due to weather. It's Crick Felipe having some issues with his vehicle. We'll see if he can make it, but Riley Sexsmith waits in the wings, as well as Sebastian Gauthier. He's already in the finals. Who he goes against, TBD, to be determined. We come back here, Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship, the O'Reilly Auto Parts title fight. The 2018 champion has been decided. And Travis Reeders, your 2018 Link Engine Management Pro 2 champion. More battles when we return. All right, there's Crick Felipe. The hood's off. The competition timeout. The 5 minutes has expired, so unfortunately that means Crick Felipe is out, but he still is guaranteed that final podium spot because of his number 2 qualifying position, but that means Riley Sexsmith will advance on. We don't know exactly what happened to Crick's car, but again, Sexsmith will take his bye run. He will advance on, and it's an all-Canadian final. Gauthier versus Sexsmith. All right, so you can see there, Crick Felipe with that number 2 qualifying position. He will lock up the number 3 spot on the podium. And now we are seeing Sexsmith warm up his tires. We'll see if he needs new tires. And what we're hearing is a belt on Crick's vehicle ripped out the INT sensor. So pretty crazy there. Unfortunate turn of events for him. And there we go. Sopa got some power there by the power of Grayskull. All right, Sexsmith, this is his bye run. And a little bit of celebratory here as Sexsmith and Gauthier. And I believe there's a shakeup. There's a shakeup as far as 3rd overall. If Gauthier gets the victory, he might slide into 3rd overall for the season. All right, there's Sexsmith. We'll see if he has to change tires or if he's going to be good to go. You can assume that they're not burning through them like if it was dry conditions. Okay, so. And looks like Sexsmith turned right around, and he will be ready to go. Could see Dirty Panda hanging out, talking to the human thermometer, Kevin Wells down there. ODP and Doc Brown trying to figure out what's going on. So rain continues to fall. Okay, so looks like Sexsmith. Okay, Gauthier will say he wants his siding lap. Okay, so a sight lap for Gauthier. All right, so again, one more commercial break. When we come back, the finals are here for our Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. When we come back, we will see who is going to get the win here in these very wet conditions at the House of Drift. There is Sexsmith, and he is going to be on the podium. Where is it going to be, first or second? Crick is on it, as well as our Pro 2 champion. Join us down on the track at the podium ceremony. It's going to be a little wet, not only because of the rain, but also because of champagne. All right, we'll see if these guys can. And now the finals are here. You can see the windshield wipers doing the work, dropping loads of rain on their windshield, but the windshield wipers seem to be getting it off, no problem. And here we go, the Gauthier and Riley Sexsmith. The finals are here, and Gauthier will lead. He got better qualifying 4th, Sexsmith qualifying 11th. Who's gonna get on top of the box? It's an all-Canadian battle. Gauthier initiates in that PB Creations S14. Sexsmith back there quite a bit. Gauthier, he's had a lot of turns now on this wet condition, and looks like he is really finally figuring it out as Sexsmith. Oh boy, Gauthier. Oh, Gauthier shallows up quite a bit. Gauthier goes off course. Re-enters, but Ryan, that looked like it was 4 off. So Gauthier in that lead position could put a chink in his armor there as Sexsmith punts the clip out of the way. Ryan, bummer there for Gauthier. It looked like he had it figured out, and then on the second outside clipping zone, looks like he got some grip, actually.
Well, Gauthier has definitely been, in my mind, the most consistent driver in these conditions, and look at the line that he's running up on the big bank, doing a great job there. Sexsmith, on the other hand, a little bit lower line. Gauthier, big angle through inside clip 1, and as he transitions, he starts heading off course, but then Sexsmith at the same time also goes off course behind him. Now, if it's an incomplete by Gauthier, that would shut the run down. So I want to get Ryan Lantain in here just to talk about exactly how they would go through that protocol-wise. But that was the biggest event of that run for the judges to look at.
In the drivers' meeting, we pointed out to the chase driver, well, to all the drivers, when in the chase position, they should chase the lead car anywhere they go on track unless it's unsafe. So in that case, you could see Riley following him even though he was going off course, so we would put the fault on Gauthier for doing it first.
Sexsmith now will be out front, Gauthier in the chase position. These are the finals for the Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. 4 rounds, and it all culminates here tonight. And Pro 2 has seen some rain. We actually moved Pro 2 to Saturday at a previous round, but now we're going to continue out here. So Sexsmith, can he get on top of the box? Gauthier needs to have a clean, solid run. Sexsmith now brings it through on the bank. Look at the wheel speed these guys have. Making some steam past that front clip, the inside clip, now into that outside zone. Oh, you see Sexsmith with a big correction there. Sexsmith straightening out. And another couple tires off there for Sexsmith. Gauthier with a decent chase job. Not the major mistakes.
Well, you have to think about what Ryan Lantain just said after that first run with Gauthier in the lead, having an incomplete from his mind. Now, looking out front at Sexsmith, does he give himself an incomplete in the lead position? Now, Sexsmith had to know that Gauthier had an incomplete, just needed to get through this run, and he would have given himself a great opportunity for the win. But right there, he straightens out and reinitiates. So the question is going to be, is that move right there enough to solicit an incomplete from the judges and have this go to one more time? Because it would be 2 incompletes in the lead position, meaning that there's no run to default to in the chase. In the other way around, if we have 2 incompletes in the chase position, the judges can at least look at the lead runs because the lead runs still need to be finished. In this case, we've got 2 incompletes potentially in the lead position.
We'll see if we have a winner. If we have a winner, we'll bring him in front of the stands.
Hold on.
And it looks like it's a one more time. So it is a one more time for these guys. Ryan, I mean, just reiterating what Lantain said. And we'll see if these guys, if they need new tires. I would have to assume they don't. I mean, they're not burning through them.
My guess is they'll take a look at them, but I don't see how they would be burning through them. At least, obviously, at the degree that we would typically see. And, of course,
yeah, look at that lightning.
And, of course, there's more lightning. Hopefully that's way further off in the distance and we don't get into another delay here.
Okay, so lightning strikes. And Sexsmith and Gauthier are having a one more time battle here in the finals of the Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. Remember, tomorrow, just and taking a look at tomorrow's schedule, again, gates open at 12 o'clock. Our live stream begins at 1:45 local time for top 32 competition. We'll have a halftime break, and then opening ceremonies for top 16 begins at 6 p.m. local time. Local time currently is 9:04. Let's take a short break here. When we come back, we'll see if Gauthier and Sexsmith are ready to go at it again one more time here for the finals. There's the webcast times. Saturday, you can see pro qualifying. And all right, so again, when we come back, we'll see if that doesn't look like those times are correct. But Sexsmith and Gauthier, when we return here at the House of Drift. Welcome back. We have 2 cars, and they are ready to hit it for our finals here. Sebastian Gauthier, Riley Sexsmith. Cole Seeley, if you're watching, how we doing, buddy? And Gauthier. See a couple hardcore fans just sitting out there, but a lot of the fans hiding in the shadows. I am Batman, I hide in the shadows. Gauthier already to the line, and now Sexsmith, that NV Auto Toyota 86. You can see famous Bill Baldwin out there, B with 1 L. All right, how we doing out there?
This is not a side lap, right?
All right. And here we go. All Canadian battle once again, the one more time battle between Gauthier and Sexsmith. And Gauthier. PB Creations, S14 out front, Sexsmith in that 86. Are we gonna see some mistakes, or are they learning from their mistakes? Gauthier initiates on the bank. Middle of the road as Sexsmith. Gauthier. And now transitioning through that outside zone. Here comes Gauthier. Sexsmith taking a shallower line. You see, oh, and a correction from Sexsmith. He was flirting with that line. Gauthier goes all the way to the outside zone. Sexsmith having some difficulty once again with that inner bank. And Gauthier powers all the way through, Ryan. And like I said, Gauthier seems to have the most experience tonight in these conditions.
He certainly seems to be the most consistent overall in the conditions that have changed since it started raining, and it's been variable, it's been on and off, but it's been wet the entire time, and Gauthier has done a great job adapting to these conditions. Nice and high on the bank. He's been pretty regular at doing that. Sexsmith keeping it much tighter this time. And Jared, usually we're so used to the fast-paced conditions of the drivers that it is really forcing you to talk fast to call, but as they slow it down, you really get to see the mistakes that are made. And Sexsmith here on the inside, it looks like he goes at least one tire off, possibly two, but he definitely lost some angle and he was on that wrong line, while Gauthier out front, I think this is a great lead run for him to establish. And he has to know that Sexsmith made that mistake in the chase position. He can lock it in right now and take home an event win if he's able to have a good follow. Now Gauthier is in 4th position. He was 166 points behind. He can make a big jump here. Ola Jaeger is out, Hughes is out, Reeder is out. It's possible that he could get up into 3rd place potentially.
That's the big one for Gauthier. Can he finish 3rd over? Oh! Sexsmith goes hard. Oh man, looks like he that's a ring of fire right there. Oh no, so Riley Sexsmith, and Gauthier does not have to finish the rest of the run. Ryan, that was a hard hit. We'll take a look at that again.
Well, there's not going to be much of a judgment call here because it's going to be an incomplete for Riley Sexsmith. And an incomplete on one run and possibly scored on the other, but 2 scored runs for Sebastien Gauthier means that he is going to take the win here after being the most consistent. Here it is, Sexsmith just gets out of whack, misjudges it, goes into the wall there, loses a bunch of pieces to the vehicle, and Gauthier is very happy down there. He knows that there is no logical way, at least, that he could lose this battle based on what happened. And he's got to be ecstatic. Like we said, Jared, 166 points down. He was in 4th place. Ola Jaeger was 103 points back. So there's a 63-point difference there. And with Ola Jaeger went out in the...
Yeah, he went out in 16.
In 16. So 20, 40, 60. He's going to be very, very close to 3rd place.
Well, again, overall, not ideal conditions, but regardless, a win is a win. And Sebastien Gauthier, Bass Gauthier as they call him. All right, so. And, you know, we normally bring both vehicles over to the right in front of the stands, but Sexsmith over there on the bank assessing his vehicle. You know the outcome of it, so.
Get Gauthier out of his car, can we?
Copy that. I mean, Andy, I've still got a car on the wall. There's this guy with his car on the wall. So, yeah, we'll go.
And we'll bring up. All right, so just adding to the wackiness and zaniness of this event, Southern California, ideal conditions, rain, lightning, and now a winner here at Irwindale. Again, the final round of the Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. You can see Sebastien going over there to check out his fellow competitor. You can see Riley Sexsmith out of the vehicle. But your winner here at the final title fight at round 4 of the Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship is Sebastian Gauthier. Sebastian Gauthier wins here at Irwindale Speedway. Congratulations to him as he gets congratulated by his team and teammates. Thank you for joining us. Again, congratulations to Gauthier, Riley Sexsmith, Crick Filippi, and of course, Travis Reeder, your 2018 Link Engine Management Pro 2 Championship. On behalf of Ryan Sage, our whole FD team, tomorrow tune in for head-to-head action for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Title Fight presented by Rain-X, the final round of the Formula Drift Black Magic Pro Championship.